What if the most dangerous being in the Aliens universe wasn't a xenomorph and wasn't a machine? What if it was both? In the vast, acid-blooded galaxy of the Aliens franchise, there are monsters, androids, and hybrids. But there's only one creature who breaks every rule: Eloise. Vat-grown, half synthetic, half xenomorph, all nightmare. She wasn't born, she was built, in a lab, by a corporation with no morals and even fewer safety protocols. But Eloise didn't stay a test subject. She became something more, something unstoppable. She's intelligent, she's maternal, she's lethal. And when she snapped, it wasn't just an escape, it was a war. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. In this video, we're diving deep into one of the Aliens universe's most haunting, underrated, and shockingly complex characters. From her tragic origin and hybrid anatomy to her role as a queen, protector, and walking extinction event. Get ready for Eloise, the deadly Xenomorph-Android prototype. This is not your typical alien story. The birth of a hybrid. In the dark biomechanical world of the Aliens franchise, where flesh and metal often blur, few characters embody the horror and awe of this fusion more than Eloise, also known as Ellie. Introduced in the 1997 one-shot comic Aliens Purge, Eloise is not just another synthetic or another xenomorph queen. She is something entirely new, a vat-grown hybrid android with xenomorph DNA, fierce, intelligent, maternal, and absolutely lethal. Her story is as tragic as it is terrifying. Engineered as an experiment and abandoned by her creators, Eloise would eventually rebel, leading a revolution of monsters and lepers against her oppressors. But to understand her true power and purpose, we must first explore her unique origins, biological makeup, and evolution from science experiment to sovereign queen. Eloise was created by Dr. Fred Lichtner, a brilliant yet morally ambiguous scientist working for a corporation known as the Adullam Institute. His facility, located on the remote planet Cyberus 503, specialized in unconventional research involving xenomorphs, leprosy, and synthetic biology. Lichtner's breakthrough came through an incredibly risky procedure. He infected a xenomorph egg with a biological computer virus, delivered via dry leprosy spores. The goal was to manipulate the genetic structure of the xenomorph, altering its embryonic DNA and producing a hybrid creature instead of a pure alien. What he got was something no one expected: Eloise. Unlike the typical grotesque or insectoid xenomorph results of genetic manipulation, Eloise was humanoid. She had the intellect of an advanced android, the physiology of a xenomorph, and the instinctual authority of a queen. She was not a mistake. She was an evolutionary leap. For a time, she became Lichtner's most valuable asset. As he continued his twisted studies on how dry leprosy affected xenomorph embryo development in human hosts, Eloise acted as both assistant and subject, providing insight into alien behavior, biology, and even emotional range. But all of that changed when the facility was acquired by the corporate superpower known as the Adelaide and Bombay Holdings Alliance. The Alliance Takeover and Rebellion. The Alliance takeover of the Cyberus 503 facility was brutal. Most of the staff and experimental subjects were terminated. Only Eloise was spared, seen as a valuable specimen worth keeping. As a synthetic, she initially complied with her new masters. She was not programmed with standard obedience protocols, but she still retained enough sense of purpose to follow orders, at least until the slaughter began. When Alliance troops started executing the lepers and purging the xenomorphs, Eloise's xenomorph queen DNA reacted violently. She didn't just feel anger, she felt their pain. The massacre awakened something primal in her. Her telepathic bond with the xenomorphs deepened, and her loyalties shifted. She was no longer an asset, she was their leader. In an explosive revolt, Eloise tore through Alliance personnel and liberated both the remaining lepers and xenomorphs. Those who once saw her as a tool now realized too late that she was a queen in her own right. She led the surviving forces off-world, hijacking an Alliance ship and setting a course for freedom. Aliens vs. Predator. Pursuit. Captain Lotus Hernandez stood before the court, not as a hero, but as the only survivor of a mission gone horribly wrong. She had been sent to the tropical death trap known as LK-176, tasked with capturing Eloise, the synthetic hybrid who had outmaneuvered the Alliance at every turn. Eloise wasn't alone. She had Lepers infected with Xeno DNA at her side, and a full Xenomorph brood. The squad landed confident and well-armed, but LK-176 had other plans. Hernandez described the first signs of horror, infected lepers hanging from trees like trophies. Then came the realization they weren't left by Eloise. They were bait, set by a tribe of Yautja hunters. It was an ambush, and her squad was the prey. The jungle erupted in chaos as cloaked predators tore through the team. Then, the real enemy arrived. Eloise and her xenomorph brood burst from the jungle, not to save the humans, but to eliminate the hunters. In a violent clash of alien titans, the Predator clan was slaughtered and sent into retreat. Hernandez watched her squad fall one by one until only she remained. She raised her weapon at Eloise's back. In a flash, her arm was broken and her rifle gone. She expected death. Instead, Eloise spoke. She told Hernandez to return with a message. Leave them alone. No more hunts, no more missions. Any further aggression would mean war, one the Alliance could never win. Now standing before the judges, Hernandez doesn't plead for vengeance. She agrees with Eloise. There's no victory in pursuing a force that only wants peace and will fight like hell to protect it. The war is over if the Alliance is smart enough to walk away. Anatomy of a hybrid queen. Visually, Eloise was nearly indistinguishable from a human woman. She wore clothes, spoke with perfect diction, and could interact socially. However, beneath the surface, and especially in certain physical traits, her hybrid nature was unmistakable. Her arms bore long, sharp claws, identical to those of a xenomorph. Her back had dorsal spines, protruding like skeletal branches from her synthetic skin. These were not ornamental, they were signs of her evolutionary lineage. Her internal physiology was an even more dangerous cocktail of machine precision and alien biology. As a synthetic, she possessed superhuman strength, speed, and durability. Her reflexes were faster than most combat androids, and her resilience in battle made her nearly unkillable. Her xenomorph traits amplified these abilities, granting her raw ferocity, a heightened sense of smell, and a natural resistance to extreme environments. But the most terrifying aspect of her anatomy was her mind. Eloise could establish a telepathic bond with other xenomorphs. It wasn't simply control, it was communion. They didn't follow her out of fear or instinct alone. They followed her because, to them, she was the queen, not just a leader, a mother, a hive mind given form. Her will became theirs, not by programming, but by evolutionary design. This connection made Eloise the most dangerous asset in the galaxy. Even a small hive under her direction could outthink, outmaneuver, and destroy well-armed military forces. The typical chaos of a xenomorph swarm, gone. Her hive operated like a coordinated strike force. Ambushes were surgical. Retreats were calculated. Every move served a purpose. And if the world feared xenomorphs before, they had no idea what was coming. Weapons and skills. While Eloise could tear through armor with her bare claws, she didn't rely solely on brute strength. Unlike pure xenomorphs, she understood technology. She could pilot spacecraft, operate human weaponry, disable security systems, use human communications to deceive and distract her enemies. She could wield a plasma rifle just as easily as a xenomorph tail. Imagine that, a creature with the predatory instincts of a queen, aiming with synthetic precision. What made her unstoppable wasn't just her biology, it was her adaptability. Most xenomorphs react. Eloise plans. She thinks several moves ahead. She plays chess, not checkers, and that made her terrifying not just in the jungle, but in space. The brood and the lepers. One of the most disturbing and unexpectedly touching elements of Eloise's character is how she treats the infected lepers. These were people, sick, abandoned, and used as test subjects for hybrid breeding. Most were doomed to a horrible fate, chest bursters erupting from their bodies. But Eloise saw them as more. She protected them. She cared for them. She didn't just command a brood, she formed a family. She provided treatment, comfort, and most importantly, dignity. In her eyes, the lepers weren't hosts. They were kin, and their unborn xenomorphs, her children. This maternal instinct didn't weaken her. It made her more formidable. She didn't just fight to survive, she fought to protect. Anyone who threatened her lepers didn't face a queen, they faced a mother with the power to burn worlds. That loyalty made her hive more than just a weapon, it made them a society. Identity and purpose. Here's where Eloise transcends every monster and android in the Aliens universe. She wasn't just made, she became. Born in a tank, wired with logic, injected with alien instincts, she was never meant to have an identity. She wasn't designed to have a purpose, but she made one. She rejected the cold obedience of synthetics. She embraced her alien heritage not as a curse, but as a calling. She didn't seek revenge, she sought peace. That makes her one of the most fascinating characters in the Aliens mythos, not because she's the most violent, but because she's the most human. Think about that. A being created through horror, raised in captivity, used as a tool, finds compassion, finds connection, finds meaning, and in doing so becomes something even the galaxy's most dangerous species fear. A sentient, sovereign queen. She once said, "Men consider it evil, but it is simply doing what it does." That's not a threat. That's a warning, a reminder. She doesn't kill out of malice. She kills because the world made her a monster, and she learned how to survive it. Legacy in the Aliens universe. Eloise only appeared in Aliens, Purge, and a short follow-up story, Aliens vs. Predator, Pursuit. That's it, one comic and a few pages. But in that short time, she did something no queen or synthetic ever managed. She changed the conversation. She blurred the lines between predator and protector, between artificial and instinctive, between monstrous and maternal. In many ways, she is the dark reflection of Ripley 8 from Alien, Resurrection. Both are hybrids. Both are experiments. Both seek meaning in a world that treats them like mistakes. But where Ripley 8 clings to fragments of her humanity, Eloise dives headfirst into her alien nature and makes it her strength. She is not evil. She is not good. She is not machine. She is not beast. She is something in between. Our nerdy thoughts. If the Aliens universe teaches us anything, it's that survival is brutal. Every creature claws its way to the top. Humanity manipulates. The xenomorphs devour. The synthetics observe. But Eloise, she leads. She builds where others destroy. She protects where others harvest. And while the galaxy sees her as a weapon, her only goal is peace. She doesn't want dominion. She doesn't want war. She just wants to be left alone. And if you won't grant her that, she will end you. Because Eloise is more than the sum of her parts. More than a hybrid experiment gone wrong. More than a footnote in a forgotten comic. She is the future. A being of blood, wire, instinct, and willpower. A creature born from exploitation, but shaped by choice. The most terrifying monster in the Aliens universe isn't the one that hides in shadows. It's the one that opens its mouth and speaks. And what she says is clear. Leave us in peace, or face extinction.
No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.